Alright friends, now we have reached the topic of numerical operation in Python. We will take a closer look to the number. In numerical operation, we can define three types of numbers. One is integer. The second one is decimal number. It means floating numbers. The third one is complex numbers. Let's go through each of them. First, I define an integer variable. For example, I can say number 1 is equal to 6, for example. Let's print it. I say print, what's my variable name? Is number 1. If I print it, for running this, I double click for, and after that I run for numeric. You see 6 on the screen. When I run the code, it prints 6. Yes, we already know it. In integer, we can also define negative values. Let's define it. For example, if I write -5, what you will see, I run it, -5 on the screen. This is also integer. How I know this is integer? To see the type of this variable, we can use type function. I want to see the type of number 1, so I can say print inside the parentheses type and then number 1. I run it, you will see class it. It means it's integer. Now let's say I want to print a message along with variables type. I can do it like this. I can say here the type of number 1, and then I put semicolon. What we will see on the screen, the type of number 1 is integer. We can say is something like that. There. If I run it again, it's better right now. Let's define the floating number. It's float. When we see decimal number, it's a floating number. For example, here I define it. Number 2, for example, is equal to 6.38, for example. I print it. I will do the same thing. I print number 2 here. I'm running it. You see 6.38. What is the type of number 2? We will check it. I copy this and paste there. This is the type of number 2 I want to see. So I run it. You see the type of number 2 is float. What's the difference? If we see after point something, it's floating number. That's the difference. So let's talk about complex number. A complex number consists of real part and imaginary part. For example, let's define it. I define number 3, for example, is equal to 1 plus 5g, for example. 1 is real part, 5 is imaginary part. So if I want to print it, let's print it. I copy this and paste there. I say number 3, the type of number 3 is, and then I change it also. I run it. You see 1 plus 5g, the type of number 3 is complex. This is complex number. To summarize, use integer for whole numbers. I mean -5, 5, 10, something like that. Number, something like that. So use float for decimal numbers. If we see point, blah, 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 it's decimal numbers. So use float. So use complex for numbers with imaginary part. This is imaginary part. When we see this, we understand this is complex number. Among these, the most commonly used types are integer and float. Now you have learned how to define and print all three number types in Python. Great job.